Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'm a longtime sex worker here in San Francisco, California, and also libertarian pro-freedom activist. And the two are related in that I've long had a passion for freedom. And one of the reasons I chose sex work and that appealed to me is because it gives you so much choice in terms of how you work, where you work, who you choose to see, all these things you don't typically get in most jobs where you have to report to an employer, deal with a lot of regulation and government control. Choice is good. And we have, unfortunately, a political system in this country that is just the opposite. It does not give us choice. Every 4 years, we're told, oh, this is the most important election in your lifetime. You have to choose between, as South Park satirically famously put it, a douche or turd sandwich. Those are our choices. If we don't like them, too bad. And this time it's Trump and Biden, and then Trump and Harris, who we've had that history here in San Francisco. Maxine described about her, and the duopoly cartel, or two-party cartel, as I call it, is systematically failing people. It's undermining democracy in this country. And there's a number of ways that this happens, including ballot access laws. All parties except for the Republicans and Democrats have to jump through extra special hoops to get on the ballot. In many states, they can't. For about the past decade in California, we've had something called Top Two, which only allows the two top vote-getting candidates from each primary election to go on to the general election, which means usually a Republican and Democrat, but some places where it's heavily, blue or heavily red, you get two Republicans on the ballot in the general election or two Democrats, and people have no other choices unless they write somebody in, and they only count candidates for write-in votes if those candidates have specifically registered as write-in candidates and jump through a bunch of hoops to even be eligible to get write-in votes. So it's a completely rigged system in many ways. The media doesn't call them out on this. Another way that alternatives are excluded is in debates. We have, I think, maybe tonight even, I can't remember when the Harris-Trump debate is supposed to be taking place, but of course they've, once again, as is true every debate since Ross Perot ran back in the 1990s, they're shutting out the Libertarians, the Greens, all other alternative parties and independent candidates, even JFK, who was polling double digits in many states before he dropped out of the race. And that's one reason he dropped out of the race, is because they weren't letting him in the debates. They were keeping him off many state ballots. So he's out now. So we've lost another alternative. But it's only part of this is due to the voting system in this country. And there are a couple specific reforms that could help with that. One is ranked choice voting. That would allow people to list their choices in order. So, for example, if you voted for president and you put somebody else as your first pick, who's not one of the two-party cartel candidates, basically in each round of counting the results, the candidate with the lowest vote total would get dropped. And then it would go to your next choice pick. So if that candidate didn't, until somebody gets 50%. It's also called instant runoff voting. You can look that up on Wikipedia and more information about that. Another more fundamental reform that I think would go a lot further towards ending the duopoly two-party cartel that denies us choice is proportional representation, which would be for state legislatures or any multi-seat body, so that basically each political party would get a percentage of seats in that body proportional to the percentage of the vote that they got. So if the Libertarian Party got 20% of the vote in a district, then they'd get, or not in a district, but in say for Congress, then they'd get 20% of the congressional seats. That would probably require a constitutional amendment, so it's not on the near-term horizon. But many other countries have this, and the ones that do tend to have better true multi-party democracies than the United States does. There's also the issue of the media, and the media has played a huge role in upholding all these restrictions and exclusions, and making people think like they have to vote for the douche or the turd sandwich. I live in Nancy Pelosi's district. She got elected first to the House of Representatives back in the 1980s, and since the very first election she ran in, she's not debated any of her challengers, not even the Republicans. And the media don't call her out for this. She just keeps getting reelected year after year because too many people just think, oh, I have to, check that box, that Democrat or that Republican box. And San Francisco is like 80% Democrat, so she always gets it. But people think like, well, I would vote for somebody else. I'd love to, but I'd be wasting my vote. And this myth of wasted vote is perhaps the biggest thing that's stopping us from actually defeating the duopoly and having more real democracy. I believe it was Audre Lorde who said, actually, no, I don't think it was Audre Lorde. I should have written that down. But someone said the most common way that people give up power is by assuming that they don't have any. And that is very much the case with voting. Each election, there's always the possibility for us to elect a libertarian or a green or some other alternative party candidate that has better positions on sex work rights and a bunch of other issues than the two-party cartel candidates do. But people think, oh, I'm going to waste my vote because those candidates can't win, and I don't want to waste my vote. Voting's too important. But here's the thing. Your one vote is not going to decide the outcome of any presidential election in the United States, a country of like 340 million people. Realistically, it's just not going to happen. You have a better chance of being hit by lightning or run over by a bus or winning the lottery than you do your vote changing who's next in the White House. The alternative party candidates that you might be considering have a better chance of getting elected president than the chances are that your one vote will change the outcome. So what it's really doing is like voting in an opinion poll. And when you vote in an opinion poll, if you get asked, for example, like, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream, vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry, and your favorite is actually strawberry, but you think most people are probably going to say vanilla or chocolate, are you going to answer vanilla or chocolate just because you think that's what most other people are going to say? No, but unfortunately, a lot of people do vote that way. They think that like, well, because most people are voting Democrat or Republican, I have to if I want my vote to count. But again, mathematically, that's not the way it works. Your vote actually has a greater proportional impact if you add it to someone with a smaller total, say one added to 10 million being a greater proportional difference than one added to 100 million. In either case, you're realistically not going to elect the next president with your vote. Even if you lived in Florida in the year 2000, when there was a once-in-a-lifetime close election between the two cartel candidates, Bush and Gore, you would have needed to convince like 500 other people to change their votes in order for your vote to change the outcome and who gets in the White House. So it's really important to understand this, because if people understood this and just stepped outside this mental box, we could really change this system. And we could get then a lot of more ideas, including around sex work, into the dialogue. If the libertarians were seen as having a realistic chance of getting elected, even if we didn't ultimately win, more people would see that, yeah, our political party stands fully for decriminalization. It's in our platform. We respect the right of sex workers and clients to consensually exchange services without being criminalized. And this stance, like the rest of libertarianism and what the party stands for generally, is based on the non-aggression principle, which is the idea that each person has the right to live as they choose, so long as they don't initiate force or fraud against others. And this is a philosophy that respects everyone's basic human dignity and autonomy, which I think is very important for individual sex workers. We've long said, consent matters, but it doesn't just matter when it comes to sex. Really, consent matters in all aspects of our lives. And I would encourage people to check out, there's a great site on the non-aggression principle, its history, ideas, and spirituality around it, thenonAggressionPrinciple.com. I will put that into the Q&A for people to see. And I'm at about 9 minutes. I'm gonna end a little bit early here, so we can give others more chance to ask questions and Chase more chance to speak and to answer questions.